Hello again, this is Frank DiMora, December 8th, 2010 with the last Chronicles of Planet Earth. If this is your first time at this site, you can go to www.dimoraministry.com. This is how you spell DiMora, D-I-M-O-R-A. And once you go to my website, you'll be able to download my book for free. It's December 1st, 2008 book. And this book is a documentary on Bible prophecy and current events, and I can guarantee that if you read the entire book, the back of your hair will be standing up, because the evidence, the documentation, and the proof shows you that every word that Jesus told us to watch for in these last days is taking place in one single generation. Now I want to share with you some of the things, some of the events that are taking place that the Lord told us to watch for in the last days. And I want to start off with, first of all, in the book of Revelation, chapter 6, verse 6, the Lord shows us that people will be working all day long for very, very small amount of food. And he talks about a quart of wheat and barley. And in that scripture, let me read it for you, so that you understand exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm going to pull the news up to show you the direction that we're going, because these are the labor pains of the last days. It says in verse 6, And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts, saying, Measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see that hurt not the oil and the wine. And so we know that people, a measure of wheat for a penny and 3 measures of barley for a penny, that in the course of the tribulation period, this is when this is going to take place. And we're already in the labor pains for this, and we're seeing this right now. So this shows us that why would people be working all day long just to be able to buy a small amount of food? Well, there are many different reasons why that could occur. There's war that could destroy the crops. There's insects that can destroy the crops. There are diseases that can destroy the crops. There could be intense heat that can destroy the crops. The rain, flooding, global warming, for example. And I don't get into, is it man-made? All we know is the temperatures are getting hotter and crops are dying. It could be anything that destroys the crops. Frost, for example. Today I heard in Florida, they're worried about the orange crops again being destroyed like they were last year. And so what happens when we see these events taking place? It could be a huge tidal wave that just rolls in and wipes out crops like we've seen in the last few years. Now, if the Lord points out to us in Scripture about the wheat and the barley and people working all day long for a measure of food, small measure of food, then you should understand that we're going to be going to a time when people will be working, in fact, all day long, because the price of food has skyrocketed out of sight. So much for that the people can't even afford the food any longer. And also during the tribulation period, there are the plagues, the voles and the vials are going to be being poured out on this earth, and one of those are going to be intense heat that's going to scorch the earth. And so crops in this manner will be killed off as well. But look at some of the evidence that shows that this planet is well on its way into seeing the price of food climb. This article is from the MSNBC.com. Staff of Life wavers under weight of humanity. This is an article, I'm going to put this up for you, and this article is all about what's happening with the food. Let me show you some of the highlights in this. It says yields are not keeping up with the world's growing hunger. Crops are stunted by a world grown warmer. A devastating fungus, a wheat rust, is spreading out of Africa, a grave threat to the food plant that covers more than the plant's surface than any other. In Chicago, London, and other money centers, the wheat market is so roiled by bad news that the speculators that rising prices may spread out and reach millions more in the world's or to the world's poor. So we see that there's a threat of here disease, the changing weather that is destroying. It just so happens that they're talking about wheat in Revelation chapter 6 verse 6, as you already saw or heard, talks about the wheat. Now here's another one. Let me get right to it. I want to show you this so that you understand we're talking about the wheat here. You can see that picture right there. And it says, I used to have very, very bumper crop, a healthy crop. Now I'm getting very, very poor performance, 20% less grain, he said, as the wheat matures too quickly in rising temperatures. The future of wheat, again, shades of Revelation 6:6. The future of wheat, in many ways, the future of food, was the subject of an emergency meeting of agricultural officials who flew to Rome from around the world in late September, worried over skyrocketing prices. These are the signs of the birth pangs. Here's another one. MSNBC.com. This came out in September. It says, the same day, however, the FAO warned that the big wheat importing countries such as Egypt, half of whose 80 million people rely on government subsidized bread, would be hard hit by billions of dollars added to their import bills. And so there are reasons or results of global warming, of poor crops, that is costing people a lot more now to buy food, to buy bread, and to sustain themselves by these wheat and grain products and maize. It says also in another one, battling the most feared wheat scourge. Across 4,100 meter high, 13,500 foot high, it says in this, we're talking about in the Sierra from on this farm, the researchers for more scientific ways to boost crops at the CIMMYT, Spanish language acronym for the International Maize and Wheat Improvement Center, whose $60 million budget of global staff of 700 are supported by the governments and foundations worldwide. The most urgent task facing this organization is to stop the spread of the virulent wheat stem rust, first identified in Uganda in 1999, dubbed the UG99. So again, they're talking about different issues which causes the food prices to go up. And in this case, it's a disease that is affecting the wheat, and it's been spreading in different nations. Now here's another one. It says the group declares war on Mideast Christians. This is a prophecy that Jesus showed us in Matthew 24:9, where he said in the last days there's going to be Christian persecution. They're going to take you and they're going to kill you, essentially. And we've been seeing a lot of Christian persecution, especially in the Islamic nations. It says the group declares war on the Mideast Christians. Baghdad, the Muslim extremists in Iraq, branded all Christians in the Middle East as legitimate targets on Wednesday. And here's another one that just came in December 7th. In Iran, a Christian pastor faces a death sentence. It says the Christian pastor in Iran has been sentenced to death for allegedly announcing his Muslim religion, or renouncing his Muslim religion, and another faces a possible indictment on the same charge of apostasy, according to a prominent activist group working for human rights in Iran. So, and this is only a tidbit of what is happening in the world as far as attacks on Christianity. And I'm going to be covering a little bit more in a second.